and welcome to the Art of Being Human. Today I've decided to talk about defining relationships, and I need to tell you what that means. But why should we define a relationship? Can't we just meet friends, like them, get to know them, go out with them, spend social time with them, help them if they're in trouble, and they with us? And most of our friendships truly are like that. We meet people, we like them, we kind of get to know them, we go out to lunch with them, we visit them, and they visit us. And it's just a smooth transition into we like each other, so now we're friends. And usually that's what it is. But there are times when a relationship needs to be defined, especially if you're dating somebody, if you're going to become engaged to somebody, if you're going to marry somebody, if you're in a business relationship with a person, and things take a little different twist because the responsibilities and the expectations are different. So if you're dating somebody, how do you know what to expect from the person that you're dating? What can they expect from you? What can you expect from them? What if it goes further and you decide to become engaged or have a more serious relationship? What does that entail? I think that some marriages fail because relationships have not been defined. Now, I'm not saying you sit down with a person and say, I have to define what this relationship is, and I have to ask you questions as to what you can provide for me and what I can provide for you and tell you those things. That doesn't happen exactly like that. It's not so scripted as that. But, you know, you've heard of prenuptial arrangements for weddings where people sign a contract that if we get divorced, then we do this or you do that, or this is your responsibility, or you take the kids, I take the dogs, you know, and these prenuptial arrangements people sign on a regular basis. Now, I used to think that was terrible because you're going into a marriage thinking that it's going to fail. You know, why would you have an arrangement of what to do if it fails unless there was an expectation that it would fail? And I'm not making a case either for them or against them here. But in truth, a lot of marriages do fail. 1 out of every 2. Some of the predictions that marriages will fail. So you need to know who you are marrying. You need to know who you're having a serious relationship with. You need to define what all of that means in the hopes that you don't have a failed marriage, in the hopes that you don't have a failed friendship. And so therefore a relationship needs to be defined. So what is a relationship? A relationship is a special bond that you have between people. People relate to each other in different kinds of ways, and people relating to each other in special ways. So that's the nature of a relationship. I have friendships, I have family relationships, I have professional relationships. They're all a little bit different, but they're defined by the purpose of those relationships, what I can do for a person, what they can do for me. In terms of a professional relationship, there's an expectation that if I go for an appointment, the doctor will be there, or if I have someone coming in to see me, that I'll be there, and that I will give them my expertise, and they will give me their expertise. So it's a different kind of relationship, which doesn't mean you can't be friends, but it is a different type of relationship. In terms of marriage and friendships, friendships can go very deep. They can be as deep as a marriage relationship, of course, without the sexuality involved. And things hurt people, and you can't just pull out of a friendship unless you have a good reason. And if you discuss a relationship with a person and they discuss their relationship with you, there's a lot less chance that you're going to get in trouble or that they're going to get in trouble, and there's a lot better chance that a relationship will survive over years. I've had friends that I've had for years, and when we see each other, even though it may not be very often, it's as if nothing ever happened and there was no distance between us, and we were for each other and with each other all along. So what is the defining process? The defining process is asking the questions or discussing the questions as, what can you do for me? What can I do for you? What do you expect out of me? What can I expect out of you? What are our long-term goals if we have long-term goals? We may not have long-term goals. And what happens? So you cannot have a good relationship with somebody if it's based upon guilt or anxiety or fear or worry. And sometimes when you get married to a person, it's based on all of those things. So some of those things, you should get married because you love a person. That should be the predominant thing. And everything should be worked out so that that love can continue, so that you don't find that after you've married them for a while, they're not the person that you thought they were. A lot of times when people get married, they marry an image of who they think the person is rather than who the person is. Now, I mention that because in a dating relationship, everybody tries to put their best foot forward to be the kindest, the best, that they can be. But that may not be the true individual. And after a few weeks of marriage, people suddenly decide, this isn't the person who I thought. This is a different person that I thought that I married. He's much uglier. He's much more angry. He drinks. He does all kinds of things that I never knew he ever did because it never showed up when we dated. And likewise, the guy might say of the female, she gossips all the time. All she does is shop. She doesn't take care of the house. And so you have all of these mixed expectations, and they're not being met. Some people get married because they want their needs fulfilled, and a person may marry a person expecting that the other will meet their need. That's not good enough. It can happen on either side, the female or the male side, but let's say that the patient, let's say it's a doctor-patient relationship, and the patient is the female and the doctor is the male, so the doctor falls in love with his patient, which is not a good idea, but sometimes it happens, or the patient falls in love with the doctor. And so maybe they get married, but the marriage is based upon, I need you to take care of me, I'm your patient, and the doctor's part is, I need you to marry me because I need to take care of somebody. I need to take care of you. That fulfills my need as a doctor. Yours is accepting my help, and that fulfills your need to be a patient to get help. And that doesn't work out very well. It may work out for a few years, and then suddenly people change. You have to remember, in a good relationship, people change and they grow, and they change their what they want out of a marriage. The person who's being taken care of wants to become independent. They don't want to be taken care of anymore. The person who's giving the care doesn't want to be the caregiver anymore. He wants to be independent. And so at that time, what they need to do is sit down with each other and redefine their relationship. What is it going to be based on? Can I be an independent person gradually and still depend upon your help? Can you be an independent person and pursue your goals, and you can depend upon my help and my support? So it's important that every so often relationships be redefined, because if they are not, the couple ends up by growing apart. And when they grow apart, they suddenly realize one day that they're not bonded to each other anymore. They're not even sure that they like each other anymore. It's more like a brother-sister relationship than it is a husband-wife relationship. And then they have to start from fresh. Are they going to keep it going? Are they going to get divorced? What are they going to do? Are they going to have a temporary separation and just redefine themselves then and discover who they are? They need to discover who they are before they get married. Now, I believe that the strongest and the best marriages are those in which people don't have to be married. They're married because they want to be, but they're not married because they need to be. In other words, your relationship with your spouse, be it male or female, is based upon your love for your spouse. It's not based upon you need that spouse because they're meeting a need in you that you don't think that you can meet on your own. If you have two people who can live independent lives and don't need to be married in order to lead an independent life, but they marry because they choose to, because they love each other, not because they have a need to be together, because they don't think they can make it on their own, then you have a good marriage. So marriage should be based upon love by two independent people who can maintain their independence. And if anything happened to one of the spouses, they would be able to go on them and maintain their independence and maintain their lifestyle without the other person, so that they don't have a need to be together. They are together by choice. That's a much, much healthier relationship than if they marry because they need to have the support of the other person. Now, it goes without saying that if you get married, you're going to have the support of your spouse if it's a healthy marriage. But the point is, you don't have to have your support, the support of your spouse. Should anything happen to your spouse, you can carry on your own. But it's better to have that support if you can. It makes a more satisfying marriage. I know that one of my doctors moved to Boston, and he said to me his wife was taking courses in Boston and had a chance to become a part of a television studio, and she wanted to work with a television studio, and he was a doctor in this practice, but he had an opportunity to move to Boston to become a part of a practice that specialized in diabetics. And so therefore, he made the choice he's going to move so he can continue what he likes to do, but she is going to get his support in a new venture that she is going to try, which she is fully supported by him, and she will support him in his new venture in a new practice. And I thought, well, that's ideal. That's perfect for a marriage, because they can adjust to each other's growth and independence. They can adjust to that and still maintain what they want to do too. That's a real creative way to have a relationship. If he had said, I'm not going to go, period, then would she move to Boston and leave him? Or would she move to Boston during the week and come back on weekends? Other things can always be arranged. But he was willing to support her because he knew he also could continue in his practice, just in another group. So that worked out well. So, and the point, I'm being a little lengthy about this, I guess, but the point I want to make is you get married because you love a person, you get married because you want to support that person, and that you get married because you want to, but not because you need to. You can be independent without the marriage. You can succeed without the marriage, but it's your choice to have the marriage, and you can grow, and your spouse can grow, whether male or female, and then you have a union which is going to stand the length of time that you need, namely for the rest of your life, because you have a support system, you have a built-in friend, you have everything that you need. So that is a good relationship. I hate to tell you some of the marriages, as I've done my counseling over the years, that I have seen and what's disrupted their marriage. Because what happens is that if a marriage gets disruptive because somebody becomes abusive, because somebody starts to drink, or there's a problem, innate problem involved, all of the growth and the creativity stop at the point where the problem is. And then all of the energy gets put into just trying to maintain the relationship for as long as they can, and that's just not a healthy way to do things. So you need to understand what your spouse is about, what he likes, what he doesn't like, what she likes, what she doesn't like, what her goals are, what his goals are, what would they see themselves doing in 5 years, how can they support each other, and what do they see themselves doing in 10 or 20 years or longer if it's a long marriage. I know people that have been married for 60 years and they're very happy with each other. And what they say is that they were always best friends. They were best friends before anything else, and they always maintained that friendship with each other. It wasn't just a relationship in which she cleaned the house and he went to work and, the usual standard kind of thing, which there's nothing wrong with that, but they had a friendship. And the friendship lasted, and they supported one another, and they lived for years and years and years. I guess the longest lasting relationship I knew of when I was in a church and not in this area, where the couple had been married for over 60 to 70 years, and they still thought each other was wonderful, and they still loved each other. Eventually, one of them died, and the other person was single, but they lived their whole life together, and perfect companionship. But they would have, over the years, in order to have this happen, they would have known each other enough to know that as they were progressing in the marriage, they were defining it. They may not have sat down and said, okay, let's define this relationship. But what they did was they knew They knew each other well enough to know where the growth was, how they could support each other, and it was kind of like an ongoing thing with them without their even defining it in terms of using the words defining, you know. So it worked out well for them. So you get to know a person, and it's important to be very honest with a person. How do you like, you know, what do you like in a person? How do you see yourself growing? What would you like to do? If we were to make any changes, what changes would we make? Will we love each other after 10, 15, 20 years of marriage? Will we feel about each other the way that we feel now? Chances are the focus of the love will change some, but it will become deeper. The beginning relationship, the beginning love is like more like an infatuation type of thing. But then as years go by, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and they still love each other just as much, but in a little different kind of way as age has come upon them, and they have matched, you know, they've met some of their goals, and they're still working together, but the inner feelings might be a little different, but they still love one another, and they stay with each other. And so you can have a long-lasting relationship, friendship, career, marriage, whatever it is that you choose to do, as long as you can define what that is and how that proceeds and how long it will last. It can last for a long time. I know I had a friend of mine who has a PhD from Brandeis University, and when I met her, I was a college student, but I was in a graduate program getting an advanced degree, and she was going to be an anthropologist, and she was in the graduate program, and she was working on a PhD degree. And so we got together, we liked each other, and so we had a friendship with each other, and she spent some time saying, how long can we be friends? I want to be friends with you for a long time. How does this go? And we sat down and kind of defined our relationship. The fact I wanted her to do what she wanted to do, she wanted me to do what I wanted to do, and we have maintained a friendship over the years. I've always been interested in her travels, where she goes, what she does. She's always been interested in what I do, my writing, my TV work, and all of that. So it is possible to have a good, healthy relationship, but you have to go into it knowing what you're doing. And you have to go into it being sensitive to where the other person is and working around both of your schedules and so forth. Well, I'm going to close it here because I don't have much time to get into anything else. So we'll close it here. We'll continue with this next time. Please join me then.